So here's a T15. As you can clearly see that the shroud looks different. It's based on the AKU, so the short AK. This was on request, so it's not necessary that I want to make an AK out of a T15, but I do have to say I managed to kind of blend it in, so because an AK is higher than an M4 platform is, so it's not exactly the same, so not one-on-one, but it kind of gives you the feel of it. And I have to say it holds nice with the grooves that in the front, so it got something to really put your fingers in there. This is with a stock barrel, at least I think that's can considered be a stock barrel on a T15. For the one that I make this one for, the person, he wants to make a suppressor around it, so it kind of hides the fact that there is a longer barrel inside. And that makes sense, it looks better probably than this, because the point of this short shroud is to have a short barrel, not a long barrel sticking out. So yeah, I happen to have this MP5 sight that is made by MCS, or at least sold by MCS, and it does happen to line up with the front side post. That's kind of funny when you use it. Of course, it's not really AK-like, but at the same time, you can say it's more modernized AK, let's say. But what this really means is, and it's of course not so really complicated, this is a free-floating shroud. This is the first one that I made for the T15, but it will probably mean that in the future I can make some more. If it proves to be kind of a popular thing, then I can make some more if I have some time for it and I'm in the mood for it. The way that I do it is, this is just threaded on. You may overturn it a little bit and it starts to go sideways. If that is really an issue, you can put a little bit of a spacer ring in between so you cannot overturn it accidentally. But it is quite a tight fit, so you need to put quite a lot of force to thread it on anyways. And the risk is, if I would put it really precise, there will only be a small tolerance in your printing that the layer is a little bit thicker or thinner at the start, then it would not line up. So I rather have this really small gap, so you have a little bit of margin of error. And also you can imagine if there is a little bit of a tolerance difference over the years with the T15, then at least kind of clears it. But that's really what it basically is, and the barrel is still removable, so you don't need to unthread the shroud to change the barrel and change out the barrel or change the setting on the T15. So that's really nice. The way that I also go about with the iron sights, it's just a small M3 bolt that will hold in this iron sight. So it's just a small piece. In case you hit it against something, it gets shot and it breaks off a wing or something like that, then you can just replace the small part. And then it's fixed, let's say. You don't have to print an entire shroud. It also saves on, let's say, support material that will all go against your shroud. With this AKU shroud, and also if I would make an actual AK shroud, they are not really interchangeable with actual AK grips, let's say, headguard panels, because they need to be scaled down a bit to fit the body of an M4 and AR-15. It's not the same height, so they don't match, but it's more to give you the feel of it. So if you play, when you are shooting, you don't really see this part so much, but then you can kind of get the feel of that you're holding an AK in this case. It's with paintball, it's not so relevant, and with airsoft that it looks all that real, 100%. It's more about the feel that you have, and it's a little bit different. You can imagine if you make maybe a SIG front or something like that, it's more AR like blends maybe better. But it is the first one of the series. I've not. I will include also an addition that you can remove the front post altogether and just have a rounded part, so it looks like it should look like that way. So in case you remove the rear side, it may look a bit weird to have a front side right there. So you can then remove it and go with it like that. So to remove it, since I need to remove it anyways, it'll demonstrate that it's kind of tight on there. I kind of need to hold it in between my legs to turn it loose, because it does grip. And in the beginning, when you are mounting it, when it's fresh on the printer, you need to really make sure that you don't cross-thread it, because it doesn't have a tendency to kind of do that. But once you have the threads in there, then it's fine. And there are threads molded in the print, but this with 3D printing and maybe the tight, you can see, you cannot clear the fronts, the flash hider. So you do need to remove the bell in order to remove the shroud. But yeah, like an AR, it got the threads to mount a free float shroud on there, and that's used to now mount the 3D printed parts on there. Just make sure that you remove the elephant foot a little bit there at the start. And then what I mentioned before, that you need to make sure now, over exaggerating of course, that you don't try to thread it in this way. Try to make sure that it's probably better to help to install the bell to help as a guide, so you make sure that you cannot do too crazy things. So you probably want to do something like this. So you slide the bell in there and install that one, and then just make sure that you are threading it in the right way. Since this one is already done, it now is easy to do. But if it's new, there is a little bit at the start that it kind of needs to be, let's say, cut by the threads of the T15, because it's a little bit messy with the 3D printing. I kind of made it a chamfer, so it should kind of guide itself in, but it's still not perfect. So you just kind of need to be careful and try to find that it's kind of finding the start of the thread, and then you're turning it in, and that's all to it. And now I will not turn it all the way, because it doesn't matter for the point that I want to make. There will be a little bit of a gap, not so big as now of course. So in case you put a lot of force on it, you can still do something like this with the shroud and put it sideways. But that is where spacer rings can help in case that is really a big issue. But so as you can see, especially when I was turning it loose, once it starts to go, the 3D printed threads start to go all over the threads of the T15, it starts to grip a lot. So it should not really be that much of an issue, unless you may have a grip on there, you got more leverage. You may start to do it, and maybe if you remove it a lot and unturn it a lot, it may start to be an issue. But then again, if you have a spacer ring and you turn it against that thing, it gives more pressure. It should be fine. And this does kind of, it's on a secure fit. This one is printed solid, and that is because it saves. Of course, you can save a little bit of plastic by not doing it, but since the T15 is quite, for paintball standards, quite heavy, and in case you start to grab it on the shroud, you don't want to have that day that you grab it on the shroud and then the threads break off from the shroud and you have a shroud in your hand and your marker drops on the ground. So of course also thread it all the way, so it's good supported with the threads. and I would just go printed solid. It will also match the weight a little bit better. Of course, it cannot match the weight of the metal parts. It's more heavy, but it will be better balanced anyways. It's not the point having lightweight thing with T15. So just print it solid. Then that way you know it's kinda, it can handle something, you can hold it and things like that. With the threads on there, it's nice and secure. So you don't have to worry about the thing. And so the links for this file can be found below. And if there are latest and older models, just keep a watch out for that. That may or may not be added to this video. Yeah, see you guys next time. So this is not officially mounted, it's loose fit, but it fits around the shroud, around the barrel right now. So it gives you a little bit of impression that how this was meant to be. So you got the suppressor that will go over the barrel, so it kind of looks like it's a short, compact platform with a suppressor on there. The buttstock will be different, it will be in different T15, but still, this is kind of how it would look. And I do kind of think it looks cool, to be honest. I like it. And it's all nice, but there's nothing wrong with an actual AR shroud. But at the same time, it just kind of looks different. And yeah, it's cool.